What's up guys, Mike Zagari here with another video on how to optimize your advertising. Today we're going to go over some really key strategies, including 6 keyword and target bid optimizations that you can take advantage of to save money on your Amazon advertising. So we're going to go over some simple, quick, and easy ways to save money with advertising so you can keep more money in your pocket. Now, first, if you haven't watched last week's video, go back and watch that video because we go over structure and foundation. That's going to make all of these optimizations a heck of a lot easier. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe, click on the notification button, and share this video far and wide, because our mission is to help sellers be more efficient with their advertising and to scale their brand on Amazon. All right, so the most basic form of optimization is called SKU optimization. So let's say that you have an ACoS target for a particular SKU of 40%, and you go into an ad group and it's performing at 70, 80% in one ad group, but in another campaign and in a different ad group, it's performing at 20, 30%. The goal with SKU optimization is to find the SKUs that are performing really well in those ad groups and then to drive more traffic to those SKUs, and then also find the SKUs that are underperforming and start to drive traffic away from those SKUs. So ask yourself, are these ASINs or SKUs underperforming across the board? That's SKU optimization. And here's an example of what this looks like inside of PPC Entourage. Totally badass because we point out where it's underperforming in a particular campaign and a particular ad group. So you don't have to hunt and peck across hundreds of different campaigns. We show it quickly and easily. And you can see it's highlighted in red. So it's underperforming relative to your ACoS target in this particular ad group. All right. So next we have target bid optimizations. So there's 6 different target bid optimizations that we're going to be covering on this video. So the very first one is called zero sale targets. Also, this is known as bleeding keywords. These are the targets that have clicks, but unfortunately, no sales. So they are wasting a lot of your ad spend, and it's important to identify them early on. Now, there's going to be times where certain keywords and certain targets are not performing well early on, but then will perform better later on. And that has to do with the life cycle of that SKU. You know, obviously the social proof, the maturity of the actual listing. Does the listing have videos? There's proper SEO in the listing? All of that plays into it. But initially early on, you want to make sure you identify the keywords that are bleeding so you can stop the bleeding early on. So having some kind of threshold in place, let's say 7 or 8 clicks, is super important. And also, is the target relevant? If it gets to 7 or 8 clicks without a sale and the keyword is totally irrelevant, that might help you make that decision to pause or lower the keyword bid a lot faster than if a target or keyword was completely relevant and exactly what you were selling. There might be another issue that you have to investigate if that's the case. So here are the action steps that you can take. Action step number 1, you can pause or lower the bid substantially. Now, it doesn't matter which one you choose to do, but the point is we do not want to archive the bid, because archiving the bid means it gets rid of that keyword completely. And the reason being is the future action step for these is to revisit and test periodically. And the reason for that is these keywords may perform better in the future. You want to go back and test these keywords and targets to see if they are working. And if you archive them early on, you can't go ahead and do that. So lowering the bid and pausing them is a good way to do that. So next, target bid optimization number 2 is called unsalvageable targets. Now, these are the targets when you log in and you see a super high ACoS, let's call it 100% or more, and you freak out because, you know, it's wasting your ad spend and all of this stuff. And the first reaction of a lot of sellers is to pause that target. Now, before you go ahead and do that, ask yourself, is there enough spend and data to make that decision? Let's say that target only has 12 or 13 clicks, but has a really, really high ACoS. Do you have enough data to make the decision to take that action? Now, a lot of this depends on your budget, but the point is we want to make sure that we make intelligent decisions based on data. So once again, ask yourself, where is your product in the life cycle? Of course, when you're just starting out, you're launching, you may notice really high ACoS targets. And then over time, as the product matures, that might get better with bid optimization. So you might be a little bit more lenient in having a higher ACoS earlier on and accepting this. But of course, you have to set a threshold because we've seen ACoSs as high as 600-700%. And typically, if it's over 120%, then it starts to get to the point where it's probably probably not going to work out, or there's a major issue with your listing. So I would set a threshold for unsalvageable targets. Let's say 100% or more, or 120% or more. And if it's at that point, then you can go ahead and take some action. If it's below that, then you may need some fine tuning and finessing, and you have to ask yourself, do I have enough data, and where is the product in its life cycle? And also, of course, how relevant is this target to what I'm actually selling? And that should help steer you in the right direction as to whether or not to take these action steps. And the action steps are, you can, of course, pause the bid, and you can also lower the bid substantially. The future action step is to revisit periodically and test. Now, keep in mind, if you're dealing with a keyword, there's also going to be search terms related to that keyword. If you have enough data, you can dig into the search terms related to that keyword to see which search terms converted and which search terms didn't convert. Inside of PPC Entourage, we have what's called the keyword cleaner. So you click on the keyword, let's say an unsalvageable keyword that has a sale, you can click on that keyword and it'll show you all of the search terms that have sales and all the search terms that don't have sales on a keyword level. So then you could take action. A potential action step could also be to do a negative exact on the search terms so you can keep the keyword going, but do a negative exact on the search terms that aren't working. All right, guys. Next, we have unprofitable targets. So these are simply high ACoS targets, but they're not unsalvageable. And really what you want to do is fine tune the bid price so that you can get a more favorable ACoS. So once again, ask yourself, is there enough spend data to make the optimization? And what is your target ACoS? It's so important to know what your profit margins for this product is. And also, what is the optimal bid to match that ACoS? And there's a couple of ways to go ahead and do this. This is what we look at. We look at what's called the max bid. This is our optimal bid formula. So step number one is to determine the click to order ratio. So the click to order ratio is how many clicks it takes on average for that keyword to get a sale. Next, you have to determine your break-even cost per acquisition. So let's say your break-even cost per acquisition is $5. That's essentially your margin. You have $5 margin on the product. That means if it takes you 8 clicks to get a sale and you have a $5 margin, if you want to break even, then the max bid that you can spend is simply the ratio of the cost per acquisition divided by the click to order ratio. But let me break that down even further. Let's say your cost per acquisition is $5 and it takes 5 clicks to get a sale. That means your max bid for that particular target is $1. Very simple and straightforward formula that works really well, but this is what we use if we're looking to lower our bid price. Next target bid optimization is called zero impression targets. So these are the ones that sometimes can baffle the mind because you have a relevant keyword or target that simply isn't getting in impressions, and in many cases it was previously showing impressions and now it's not. So first question, is the target relevant and was it previously showing impressions? Obviously, if the target is not relevant and you're not showing impressions, well, that's a good sign that you shouldn't be targeting that particular keyword or target. But if it was previously showing impressions, then you have to ask yourself, how long has it been since it's not been showing impressions? Is there something that happened in the campaign? And this is where you can dig into your negatives. See if you did something with your negatives. Maybe you did a negative phrase match or a negative exact match. Review your negatives to make sure that you didn't take yourself out of the game by over optimizing your negatives. Also review any recent bid changes to see if perhaps you made some sweeping bid changes and now all of a sudden you're not getting any impressions. Now ask yourself too, is that target crowded with many other targets? If keywords or targets get crowded inside a particular ad group, they may not get the impression share that you're seeking because they're crowded amongst all of these other targets, and all of these other targets are competing for the ad budget for that campaign. Here are the action steps. Action step number one, it's as simple as just raising your bid price because maybe you over optimized or maybe that target got a little bit more competitive. The first action step could be raise your target bid. Action step number two is to isolate that target and make it its own campaign. If it's really relevant, I would go down this road. And then also look at your past campaign, your campaign structure, and ask yourself, are my campaigns too crowded? Is that part of the problem? All right, number 5, zero or low click targets. Now, this is a super low click-through rate percentage. This means that you're serving up an ad, but people just don't care and they're not clicking on your ad. Okay, so question number 1, is the target relevant and was it previously getting clicks and sales? So maybe it is not relevant and you shouldn't be going after that target. And a lot of times what we see here is we see junk traffic. So when sellers go after like 10-cent clicks and low bid auto campaigns, you'll see a really low click-through rate percentage and you get really poor placements and really poor targeting and it's not really relevant traffic, all of that stuff. And you have to ask yourself, is this target actually relevant? So that's why having a really good structure from the beginning and going after relevant targets with the proper campaign structure is absolutely important. Next, ask yourself, was it previously getting clicks with a high click-through rate percentage? If it was, then perhaps there's something wrong with your offer. There could be a host of different things that are happening, like potentially your competition has a better deal, or maybe your reviews went down, or maybe your main image is not popping quite like your competition. There could be a reason why your offer is no longer getting the click-through rate percentage that it used to, and you may have to dig a little bit deeper to figure out why. Ask yourself, how long have they not been getting clicks? Was there anything that happened? Did I make any sweeping changes? Has there been any issues with my listing? What does the placement optimization look like? So you may be targeting rest of search or product detail pages, and all of a sudden you're not getting the placement for top of search, and that could have a big impact on your click-through rate percentage. All right, so step number 1 is to check your listing on desktop and mobile and do a quick comparison of you and your competition, and really ask yourself, how is my listing compared to my competition? Is there a reason why people aren't clicking on my listing? Ask a friend to do it as well and see if there's any tweaks and changes that you can make. Step number 2, check placements and optimize based on placements to see if you can get higher top of search placements if you're looking for a higher click-through rate percentage. All right, so that takes us into the final target bid optimization, and that is deep bid optimization for placements. All right, so keep in mind that placement optimization works on a campaign level only. You can't optimize placements based on ad group. So next, it's applicable on sponsored product campaigns only, which includes auto campaigns and product targeting campaigns. So you can't do this currently on sponsored brand campaigns or sponsored display campaigns. You can modify bids on top of search and product pages to drive more or less traffic to those different locations. So that's what we're doing here. We're adjusting our modifiers to drive traffic to top of search or the actual product detail pages. And let's dive in on how to do that. So take a look over here, go into Seller Central. You're going to see a couple things. The different placements, you have top of search, product pages, and rest of search. Then we have the actual bid adjustment, which you can only do for top of search and for product pages. And you can see here, we have it set to 0. Now take a look at your clicks and your orders and your ACOS. Those are going to be 3 columns that you want to take note of, because what we want to do is we want to find out what our conversion percentage is, and also take a look at our ACOS, and we want to tweak our base bid and tweak our modifiers to make sure that we're driving traffic to the placements that are working out really well. So here's an example. We took a look at the clicks and the orders. So the difference between top of search and rest of search conversion is 131% better. So essentially what we're saying is top of search had 131% better conversion rate than the rest of search. Now the difference between top of search and the product page was 100% better. So we're saying here that there's 100% likely better conversion rate on top of search as compared to product pages. So knowing that information, step number 2 is to determine the bid decrease, which will be the base bid for the rest of search. So all you have to do is take that 1 and divide it by 1 plus 1.33, which is that 133% increase, and we get a 43% decrease that is needed for our base bid. Now keep in mind, we can lower the base bid for all of the targets in that particular campaign, and then in an example here, let's say we had a keyword in that campaign that had a 95-cent bid, we will reduce it to 55 cents, which would be a 43% reduction. So now that we're lowering that base bid, what that means is we have to raise the modifiers for the top of search and for the product pages, because those had a higher conversion rate than the rest of search. And the goal here, remember everyone, is that we're trying to drive traffic to top of search based on conversion rate, then more traffic to product pages and less traffic to rest of search. That's why we're lowering the base bid. So in this example, we're going to be raising our top of search modifier by 131%, which would take our base bid, which is 55 cents, all the way up to potentially $1.27. And then for product page modifier, we're going to be raising it 100%, which will take that base bid of 55 cents up to $1.10. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found a ton of value and you can use this information to save some money on your ad spend. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And if you have any questions, we are always here to help. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And also we have the Amazon Ads Playbook series that is available for a limited time for free located below, which has 28 different unique Amazon advertising campaigns to help fill in the gaps in your Amazon advertising strategy. It's available for free. I go through step by step how to create a complete ad strategy. So definitely click on the link below. I'll see you on next week's video.